If you're wondering the best way to spend 3 days in Amsterdam, this video is here to help. After all, I know firsthand the struggle of navigating Amsterdam's infinite sea of choices, whether your idea of a good time is boozing on a boat with bottomless cheese, or getting drunk on museum fumes instead. So, to ensure this itinerary fits your needs no matter your interests, I've designed it in a choose-your-own-adventure type format with activity suggestions broken up by neighborhood after 5 trips of sweet, sweet research. Now, in case you're new here, hi, I'm Christina from happytowander.com, and this channel is all about practical travel advice from someone who's been there, done that. So be sure to like and subscribe if that sounds like your kind of thing. All right, time to get started with day 1, which involves exploring the touristic core of Amsterdam and all its most famous sites. To kickstart your first day in Amsterdam, we need to make sure you're properly fueled. Because I'm gonna be real with you, today's itinerary is intense. So no matter what you grab for breakfast, make sure it's filling and fueling, preferably with a coffee or 10 to go with it. If you want to be as Dutch as humanly possible, I'd advise you simply eat some bread. Yes, the Dutch love their bread, whether topped with cheese, spreads, or chocolate sprinkles, and you really can't get more Dutch than that. If you want other options though, the good news is Amsterdam is a modern city that, like most cities, has fallen hopelessly in love with brunch spots. So there's no shortage of places to grab a more filling bite. I really enjoyed Greenwood Single on my last visit. Now with your stomach properly lined, it's time for a walk. Your first morning in Amsterdam will be filled with a lot of sightseeing and canal ogling because, let's be real, there's no better way to appreciate the beauty of this city. We'll be tackling some of the city's busiest and most touristy sections first, because the later we wait in the day, the busier they'll be. Crowds are inescapable in Amsterdam, but the more you can have the streets and canals to yourself, honestly, the better. Here's the walking route that I would recommend on your first morning. We're gonna start at Dam Rock, one of the most quintessentially Amsterdam photo spots because a quick snap here is a must. From here, you can proceed onwards to Dam Square via the very pretty De Beurspassage. This is Amsterdam's main square that is filled with endless pigeons, but worth a quick stop. From here, you can go onwards to De 9 Straatjes, the 9 streets, a beautiful section of Amsterdam known for being packed with vintage and designer boutique stores, as well as cute cafes. This is truly one of the prettiest parts in the city to stroll around and fall in love with the views. So I'd say the best thing to do is wander around, popping into boutiques as you go, and inevitably taking 10 million photos of canals. If you want a bit more structure to your exploration though, there are a number of fun things you can do here, including museums if you're interested, like the Houseboat Museum, which allows you to take a nosy-mosey and see what all those cool Amsterdam houseboats look like on the inside. There's also others like the Museum of the Canals, which is all about Amsterdam's canal history. And Huis Marseille, the city's first photography museum, which is located inside a gorgeous 17th century canal house with a very pretty garden. Ultimately though, after all your frolics, I want you to end up at the world-famous Amsterdam Bloemenmarkt, known as the world's only floating flower market. I have to say, this is an incredibly touristy place, and we're only stopping by to check it off your list. I personally wouldn't do too much shopping here, but it's fun to look at all the tulipy souvenirs and duck into the Dutch cheese shops offering liberal free samples. Now, if you don't completely fill up on samples, it's time for lunch. Today, I would recommend a quicker on-the-go lunch because there's a lot more to see. Luckily, the Dutch are master snackers, so there's no shortage of quicker options to choose from. Vlaams Frietenshuis Vlamings is a reliable pick serving up crispy fries in an absurdly delicious sauce. Or, if you want a quirky novelty experience, you can also grab something quick from a hot vending machine. Look up Fibo to find one near you. Alternatively, if you prefer a sit-down meal, many bars will have a variety of Dutch snacks for you to try, with popular picks being an endless variety of deep-fried goodies, like Dutch fries, frikandel, which is a sort of deep-fried sausage, bitterballen, which are small fried balls of stew, or croquette, basically the same thing except shaped like a sausage, and kibbeling, small pieces of marinated fried fish. Do save room for some sweet treats though. Some popular ones you can find around Amsterdam include stroopwafel, 2 very thin waffles sandwiched together with caramel syrup, and poffertjes, sort of like mini puffed up pancakes, usually served with powdered sugar. Now, with your stomach properly fueled, it's time to spend our afternoon at Museumplein. This beautiful spot is home to 4 major art museums, along with a big open grass area perfect for events and people watching. If you feel especially passionate about squeezing a museum in, there are plenty of excellent options right here. Though I've mainly designated tomorrow to be the museum day because today is all about the vibes. If you have the time and stamina for a museum though, some very popular picks here include the Rijksmuseum, also known as the National Museum of the Netherlands, which is filled with Dutch art and history exhibitions along with a gorgeous library. There's also the Van Gogh Museum, or the Van Gogh Museum if you want to pronounce it the Dutch way, which is of course dedicated to the Dutch artist Vincent van Gogh, with the largest collection of his works in the world, showing how his style evolved during his lifetime. There's also the Stedelijk Museum, which is a modern art museum that kind of looks like a bathtub from the outside and is filled with contemporary art from around the world. And the Moco Museum, a smaller modern art museum most famous for containing a number of works by famed graffiti artist Banksy. I'll be leaving links in the description, by the way, to all these attractions mentioned, so be sure to check that out for easy booking links. Now, after you've had your fill of museum pine, it's time for the best sunset activity ever, which is a canal cruise. While it might seem touristy, you cannot visit Amsterdam and not spend some time actually on the canals. There are plenty of different canal cruises to choose from, but my personal recommendation is to make sure you go at sunset when everything is just that little bit extra magical if the weather is cooperating. Not all Amsterdam canal cruises are created equal though, so make sure you try to get one that's at least partially open unless you're visiting in the middle of winter. That way you can get some nice photos. And be sure to look into some fun, unique cruise options as well, like ones offering bottomless wine and cheese. Finally, it's time for dinner, which for our first day is gonna be something Dutch. To be completely honest with you, Dutch cuisine doesn't have the best reputation, not even among Dutchies, but when in Amsterdam, you should try some classics at least once. For traditional Dutch dishes, Moeders is a popular tried and true classic, offering up some home-style eats. But there are plenty of other places serving up Dutch comfort food around the city. In any case, some dishes to have on your radar include stamppot, which is a big sausage on a pile of potatoes mashed with other veggies and covered in gravy. Hoedspot, which is a dish of boiled and mashed carrots, potatoes and onions, often served with gravy and sometimes with a sausage or carbonade. And erwtensoep, traditional Dutch split pea soup, usually so thick your spoon can stand up in it, often including chunks of pork and other veggies as well. And there are plenty more comfort dishes where those came from. Of course, if you're not feeling the Dutch cuisine, then there are plenty of other options. Just make sure you feed yourself well because our evening's not quite finished yet. After dinner, it's time to see a whole other side of Amsterdam. Again, here you have a choice. If you want to see Amsterdam's infamous red light district, evening is the time to do it when the notorious red lit windows are in full display and where you'll be able to take your pick from the neighborhood's many unique shows, shops, and bars. But while the red light district is a big part of Amsterdam's tourist allure, and I get it if you want to have a look out of curiosity, I don't personally find it to be the best place to hang out as a tourist. If you're looking for something cozier, I can definitely recommend visiting a brown cafe or brown bar instead. These bars are public establishments and are great spots to have a drink and some nibbles and maybe even strike up a conversation with a friendly local. My recommendation is In 't Epjen, right by the red light district. It's reportedly the oldest bar in Amsterdam and filled with monkey statues, allegedly because sailors used to pay for drinks with monkeys back in the day. Now, after a fun evening, it's time to get some sleep and wake up bright and early for day 2, which is our big history and culture day. After caffeinating sufficiently over breakfast, it's time to tackle a large Amsterdam attraction of your choice before the afternoon crowds roll in. My personal recommendation would be to visit the Anne Frank house, the very building where Anne Frank and her family hid during the Nazi occupation of the Netherlands, and also where she penned her famous diary, which would later be published as Diary of a Young Girl. With a spot as popular as this, honestly, you'll be taking whatever time slot you can get. But if you can, aim to grab a ticket for the very first time slot of the day. With tickets sold out every single day, going first thing is your only bet at seeing the space somewhat empty. If you aren't able to secure tickets in advance, or if you'd rather do something else, then I'd recommend picking another big Amsterdam attraction like the Rijksmuseum or the Van Gogh Museum, as these tend to be the least busy if you're able to nab the first entry slot. Of course, there are plenty of other attractions and activities to choose from, so be sure to check out my full guide on things to do in Amsterdam for more ideas. Now, after some shameless sightseeing, it's time for lunch. And for that, I'd recommend a food tour. This is a great option in Amsterdam because many of the typical must-tries are ones that newbie travelers may not want to eat a giant portion of, like fried goods of all kinds or herring. So take your pick from one of the many organized food tours in the city, or simply DIY your own by trying some of Amsterdam's most popular street foods. Once you are too full to walk, it's time to tackle another shamelessly touristy activity, or perhaps another Amsterdam neighborhood. You could, for instance, head back to Jordaan, where the Anne Frank House is, to explore more of its quintessentially Amsterdam views and many museums, from quirky ones like the Pianola Museum, which is dedicated to self-playing pianos, to more touristy spots like the Amsterdam Cheese Museum or Amsterdam Tulip Museum. Or if you're open to going a little farther afield, the Jewish Quarter has a number of interesting attractions, like the Jods Museum, all about the history of Jews in Amsterdam, the Portuguese Synagogue of Amsterdam, which is a grand synagogue constructed in 1675, and the National Holocaust Museum, a sobering but important museum about how the Holocaust impacted the Netherlands. Amsterdam Noord offers a few more options as well, but if you're following this itinerary closely, we'll already be headed that way tomorrow. In any case, once you've had your fill of exploring, it's time for dinner. Since last night you tried some classic Dutch cuisine, tonight let's mix things up with an Indonesian rice tafel, a popular offering with roots in the Dutch colonization of Indonesia. Literally meaning rice table, a rice tafel offers a wide variety of small Indonesian dishes served with rice and sides, allowing diners to sample many different flavors in one meal. Nowadays, there are lots of great restaurants in Amsterdam where you can sample one. I really enjoyed mine at Restaurant Langpura in Jordaan. And if you're not too stuffed with food to move after dinner, I suggest trying out another Dutch specialty before bed, Jenever, a traditional spirit from the Netherlands considered the ancestor of modern gin made from distilled malt wine and flavored with juniper berries. Locals have been drinking it for centuries, usually served in a small tulip-shaped glass filled to the brim. You can probably get some Jenever in any old bar in the city, but if you want to take it up a notch, you can book a specific experience or head to a distillery. Don't get too carried away though, because for day 3, we have big plans. On your last day, it's time to get away from the central core of Amsterdam and see more of what the city has to offer. This will very much be a build-your-own-adventure type day, so feel free to swap out my morning or afternoon recommendations. Alternatively, if you feel like you've explored enough of Amsterdam, you can spend your third day enjoying one of Amsterdam's many amazing day trips. Some of the most popular options include Zaanse, a very cutesy neighborhood not too far from Amsterdam, known for its traditional green wooden buildings, with 7 different museums and 8 historic windmills. You can also opt to visit another Dutch city while you're here. Within an hour of Amsterdam Central Station, you can easily visit Rotterdam with its unique modern architecture, Utrecht, which feels a lot like Amsterdam with a fraction of the crowds, Delft, famed for its iconic blue pottery and beautiful canals, and The Hague, home to the International Court of Justice and the International Criminal Court. All that said, if you want to stay in Amsterdam for your final day, here's how I would spend it. After grabbing breakfast, it's time to spend our morning exploring a new side to Amsterdam. Across the water from Amsterdam Central Station, you have the gloriously cool Amsterdam Noord neighborhood. Depending on your interests, you have 2 main options for this morning's Noord adventure. Option A is NDSM Wif. This section is a little further away, about a 10-minute free ferry ride from Amsterdam Central. Once a shipbuilding yard, today the many old warehouses have been converted into quirky art spaces and cool spots to eat. A highlight here is the Straat Museum, dedicated to massive pieces of street art, but you'll also spot plenty of street art in the outside areas too. Make sure you stop off for a drink at Plek, a restaurant made from shipping containers with an artificial beach overlooking the river. Now option B is hopping over to This is Holland and its attractions. Directly across the river from Amsterdam Central and only about a 3-minute free ferry ride is a section of the Noord neighborhood home to some very cool attractions including the AI Film Museum, Edam Toren, and This is Holland, which is a 5D flight simulator which takes you on a virtual tour of the whole country. Of course, this is quite touristy, but I've heard really good things. Alternatively, you can explore further inland and find some cool off-the-beaten-path parks, attractions, and cafes. In any case, pick the option that works for you, or maybe do both in one morning if you're ambitious. But after that, it's time for lunch. If you haven't tried Dutch pancakes or apple pie at this point in your trip, now is the time. Dutch pancakes are commonly eaten at lunch or dinner rather than breakfast, so you have the country's blessing. As for apple pie, this is known as a filling anytime kind of treat. And once you see the portion sizes that they do here, you'll see why I didn't allocate any extra time or room for other foods. There are plenty of places around the city to secure these sweet treats. If you're heading back to the other side of the water, some very popular places include Het Pape-eiland, a historic cafe which contains a secret passageway and vies for the title of best apple pie in the city, alongside Winkel 43, another popular spot that is guaranteed to have a lineup. Now take your sugar rush and press onwards for your afternoon activity. A niche nerdy thing that you are interested in. Amsterdam is filled with museums and attractions. You could truly not do them all in a year, let alone 3 days. So for our final afternoon in the city, it's time to prioritize. Let's do something that you are personally very interested in. The amazing thing about Amsterdam's museum selection is that you'll find something no matter how niche your interest, from cats and pipes to houseboats, science, maritime history, and more. If you want to do something more unique to Amsterdam, I recommend heading back towards the red light district and seeing the museum Ons Lieve hier op zolder, Our Lord in the Attic, a chapel hidden away in the attic of a 17th century house, which is a relic from back when it was forbidden to practice one's Catholic faith in public. Amsterdam's oldest building, the Oude Kerk, is also close by, along with some museums related to the red light district itself. That said, art lovers are also spoiled for choice. There's the Rembrandt House, where you can learn about Rembrandt's life and works in a building that he once lived in. Or Museum van Loon, a 17th century canal house that's filled with beautiful paintings, porcelain, and furniture, as well as an impressive garden. Or for something completely different, science nerds might like the Nemo Science Museum, full of interactive science exhibits. Other options include Body World and Micropia, the world's first museum that focuses on the fascinating world of microorganisms. Or there are plenty of quirkier options too, like the Katten Kabinet, a small museum in a historic canal house that's packed with art focusing on cats. There's even a museum fully dedicated to pipes, aptly named the Amsterdam Pipe Museum. Of course, if after all that you just want to chill, a trip out to Vondelpark or one of the city's many other sprawling green spaces might just be what you need. Now, after your final touristy frolic, it's time to move on to dinner, which should be something memorable. I know that's vague, but hear me out. By now, you should have already ticked off all the major must-dos food-wise off your list. So the focus of your final meal should really just be on something unique and special that you'll remember for the rest of your life. Booking a beautiful canal-side restaurant, for instance, will guarantee that you end the trip on a high note. Or you could go for a unique experience dinner, like a 3-course dinner in the former first-class waiting rooms at Amsterdam Central Station, or maybe even a canal dinner cruise. On a budget, a picnic with a view can be equally unforgettable, with the Nemo Science Museum rooftop and Museumplein being some nice options. Alright, I hope that was helpful. Be sure to like and subscribe for more travel videos just like this one, and I'll see you next time.